Oldsmobile was that dude back in the day. In 1901, Ransom E. Olds dropped a curved dash, the first U.S. car built like popcorn, by the thousands. It kicked off the whole mass production game before Ford even showed up. Fast forward to the 40s and 50s, Olds started getting real wild. We're talking insane concepts, crazy engines, and stuff that was way ahead of its time. So what happened? Too weird, too fast, too pricey. A lot of them got shut down before they even hit the showroom. Now, these banned Oldsmobiles are straight-up legends, proof that American car makers weren't afraid to dream big, even if it got them in trouble. 8 banned cars Oldsmobile built but never released, 1940 to 1960.
Make sure to subscribe and smash the like button.
All right, folks, let's rewind to 1959. Elvis was on the radio, tail fins were high, and someone at Oldsmobile said, "What if we built a police car so fast it could arrest time itself?" Enter the Oldsmobile Super 88 Police Interceptor prototype, a 300-plus horsepower, big block V8 monster that could haul more than just perps. It was a full-size muscle cruiser designed for state patrol units, meant to eat up miles and Mopars in a single bound. But here's the kicker. Most departments took one look and said nope. Why? Too expensive. Small-town budgets didn't cover hot rods. Too powerful. Let's be honest, not every deputy needed a rocket-powered couch. Too terrifying. The idea of Barney Fife with 300-plus horses under his foot gave people serious anxiety. So, it was quietly shelved. No lights, no sirens, no production run, just a whisper in Oldsmobile's performance history. In short, the Super 88 Interceptor was the cop car that was too fast to catch a future or a budget approval. Number 7. The 1953 Oldsmobile Jetaway Dream Coupe, a one-off concept built to hype up GM's shiny new Hydromatic Jetaway automatic transmission. Yes, this car was essentially a rolling billboard for a gearbox, but what a billboard it was! Sleek, spacey, and dripping in jet-age optimism. It looked like a rocket ship with white wall tires. The kind of thing Flash Gordon might drive to prom. Fins? Oh yeah. Curves? Everywhere. Taste? Questionable. But here's the problem. Too weird for 1953. Too advanced for production. And honestly, most dealers weren't ready to sell a spaceship to folks just trying to get to church on Sunday. So what happened? Well, it went straight to concept car purgatory, parked next to the dreams of bold designers and nervous execs alike. In the end, the Jetaway Dream Coupe lived up to its name. A wild dream that looked ready for takeoff, but never left the show floor. Number 6. All right, buckle up, or rather strap yourself into the chrome-drenched future of 1950. Let me introduce you to the Oldsmobile XP20, a concept car so far ahead of its time it looked like it was waiting for runway clearance, not a stoplight. This thing had it all. A bubble-top canopy so futuristic it screamed alien abduction chic. Aircraft-style tail fins that could poke someone's eye out in a parking lot, and a jet-inspired cockpit because obviously your average American family needed to feel like they were launching into orbit just to grab milk. So why wasn't this space cruiser in every driveway? Because the XP20 wasn't just ahead of its time, it left time behind entirely. No safety features, no emissions compliance, no trunk, unless you count hope and dreams. It was built purely for GM's Motorama, where practicality went to die and wild design reigned supreme. Number 5. The Oldsmobile F-85 Turbo Jetfire, the muscle car that tried to bring rocket science to your local dealership in 1960. Because what could possibly go wrong? This was one of the first production-ready turbocharged V8s. That's right, Oldsmobile looked at their mild-mannered compact sedan and said, let's strap a jet engine to it. The result? A tiny car with 215 HP of boosted insanity, plus a fancy fluid called turbo rocket fluid. Spoiler, it was just high-octane methanol. So, why did this futuristic beast get shelved? Well, imagine handing a complex, high-strung turbocharged engine to 1960s drivers who thought maintenance meant changing the ashtray. You had to top off that special rocket juice, baby it like a Ferrari, and pray the turbo didn't cough itself to death on a cold morning. Unsurprisingly, most owners treated it like a regular Oldsmobile, and the turbos promptly died. Reliability went out the window faster than a Jetfire doing 0 to 60. Olds quietly yanked the car, detuned the tech, and released a simpler version in 1962, hoping everyone would forget the brief turbocharged fiasco. Bottom line, the Jetfire was a genius idea for a decade that still thought radios were cutting-edge tech. Number 4. The Oldsmobile F-88, a car so stunning, so ahead of its time, that GM basically said, this is too cool. Kill it. Back in 1954, Oldsmobile rolled out this fiberglass-bodied V8-powered beauty as part of GM's Motorama Dream Machine parade. It had the sleek lines of a spaceship, the muscle of a rocket V8, and just enough chrome to reflect the ego of an entire design department. The plan? A Corvette-style sports car, but with Olds flair and real horsepower. So why didn't it hit production? Simple. GM politics. See, the Corvette had just launched a year prior, and Chevy execs weren't about to let Oldsmobile waltz in with something faster, cooler, and, dare we say it, better. That would have made the Corvette look like a plastic go-kart. So the F-88 was quietly buried. Most prototypes were destroyed, like actually torched, and the few that escaped became collector unicorns. One sold at auction for over $3 million, which is a lot of money to own a car the world wasn't allowed to have. The F-88 wasn't banned for being bad, it was banned for being too good. GM couldn't handle that kind of internal sibling rivalry. Corporate sabotage is the true American tradition. Number 3. The Oldsmobile Golden Rocket, 1956, the Jetsons' weekend cruiser. Let's rewind to 1956. Tail fins were growing taller, chrome was spreading faster than gossip in a small town, and America was obsessed with everything jet-powered. Enter the Oldsmobile Golden Rocket, a concept car that looked like it flew straight out of Area 51 with a martini in one hand and Elvis on the radio. This thing was wrapped in fiberglass body, wore golden paint like a Vegas lounge singer, and had swiveling bucket seats, so you could enter your spaceship coupe like a gentleman instead of awkwardly scooting across a bench. Under the hood, a rocket V8, of course, because if it didn't sound like thunder, was it really the 50s? So why didn't it go into production? Because it had 0 in the safety department, negative practicality, and looked like it would decapitate you in a low-speed fender bender. Also, those jet-age curbs were more fantasy than feasible for assembly lines. But while the Golden Rocket never made it to showrooms, its influence did. Elements of its design trickled into future GM models, albeit heavily diluted and with fewer spaceship vibes. In the end, it was a dream on wheels, never meant to be real. But man, it looked good doing nothing. Number 2. 1946. The war was over, soldiers were home, and America was ready to buy anything with 4 wheels and a chrome bumper. But Oldsmobile was feeling spicy.
1948 Futuramic Oldsmobile.
Enter the Futuramic prototype, a wild, streamlined vision of tomorrow sketched during World War II while most of the world was focused on tanks and ration books. This car had bold lines, sleek curves, and enough aero flair to make Buck Rogers jealous. So why didn't it hit the streets? Well, it was too futuristic. Built with wartime optimism, but no post-war practicality, the Futuramic was like trying to sell a smartphone in the age of rotary phones. The tooling didn't exist, the cost was insane, and GM's top brass basically said, "Cool idea, now go build a boxy sedan and keep quiet." Plus, after the war, the public wasn't ready for radical design. They wanted something reliable, not something that looked like it needed a launch pad. So the Futuramic was quietly shelved, and Olds went back to building conservative cruisers with more chrome and less spaceship. Number 1. The Oldsmobile B44, a car that had it all. Smooth lines, sleek curves, and a name that sounded more like a bomber than a boulevard cruiser. That wasn't an accident. B-44 was a nod to military aircraft because, hey, in the early 40s, if your car didn't sound like it could drop bombs, were you even trying? This was Oldsmobile's big leap into futuristic design for the 1942 model year. A pre-war concept that looked more like a sci-fi comic than a Detroit cruiser. Flush fenders, fastback styling, and enough aerodynamic optimism to make a wind tunnel blush. But fate had other plans. Before the B-44 could hit showroom floors, Pearl Harbor happened, and the US government said, "No more cars, it's tank time." Civilian auto production screeched to a halt in early 1942, and the B-44 went from next big thing to never heard of it almost overnight. It didn't even get a chance to flop. World War II canceled it before buyers could. No one was asking about horsepower or chrome trim when rationing rubber and scrap metal. So the B-44 ended up a war casualty, not on the battlefield, but in the boardroom. A victim of timing, world conflict, and maybe just a little too much ambition. R.I.P. B-44. You were too smooth for a world at war.